You text me when you have time. I text you as soon as I see your message. That right there, that's the difference between us. For me, it's not just about replying, it's about showing that I care. It's about showing that you matter enough for me to make you a priority. But for you, I'm just another task on your list, something you'll get to when it's convenient. And let me tell you something I've realized: love, effort, attention, those things can't be forced. They've got to come naturally. And if I'm constantly the one who cares more, who tries harder, then maybe I need to step back. Maybe it's time to stop chasing someone who only makes time for me when it fits their schedule. Because love isn't about convenience. It's about consistency. It's about showing up even when it's not easy. I deserve someone who values me the way I value them. Someone who doesn't leave me feeling like I'm always waiting, always second guessing my worth. So if you only text me when you've got time, then maybe it's time I stop replying. Because at the end of the day, I'm not just someone's afterthought. I'm worth more than that. Oh, and don't get it twisted. I'm not bitter. I'm not sitting here, arms crossed, waiting for some grand realization to dawn on you. I'm not pining over read receipts or staring at my phone like a lovesick fool in a slow-motion romance montage. No, I'm just finally seeing things for what they are, because love, effort, attention, those aren't puzzles to be solved. They aren't favors to be rationed out like leftovers from last night's dinner. They're supposed to be given freely, willingly, without hesitation. And if I have to beg, remind, or perform emotional acrobatics just to get a fraction of what I give, then maybe I'm not losing you. Maybe I'm setting myself free. See, I used to think patience was a virtue. That if I just held on a little longer, if I just proved my worth a little harder, you'd see me the way I saw you. But patience isn't a virtue when it turns into self-betrayal, when it means waiting for someone to see your value when they should have never needed convincing in the first place. And let's be real here. If you cared, truly cared, I wouldn't be having this revelation at all. I wouldn't be dissecting our conversations like a detective looking for clues of reciprocation. Because when someone wants you in their life, you don't have to decode their actions like some ancient cryptic manuscript. It's obvious. It's in the way they show up. Not just when it's easy, not just when it's convenient, but because they want to, because you matter. But here's the best part. This isn't a sad story. This isn't some tragic ending where I walk away, heartbroken and defeated. No, this is my breakthrough moment. The scene where I realize I'm not just an option, I'm the whole damn jackpot. And if you couldn't see it, well, that's not my loss. Because while you were busy keeping me on the back burner, treating me like some side quest in the game of your life, I was out here growing, evolving, learning my worth. And now, I refuse to be a supporting character in my own story. So, let this be my final message, my grand exit, if you will. Not with bitterness, not with anger, but with absolute certainty. If you ever wonder where I went, why I stopped texting back, why the person who always showed up for you suddenly isn't there anymore, just remember, I was never asking for too much. I was just asking for what I gave. And if that was too much for you, then you were never enough for me. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got better things to do than wait around for someone who never truly saw me in the first place. And isn't that the truth? I spent so long trying to shrink myself into the space you were willing to offer, twisting my needs into whispers so they wouldn't sound like demands. I gave you my presence, my patience, my unshaken belief that one day you'd wake up and realize I was worth more than just a passing thought. But let's be honest, people don't wake up and suddenly care. Care isn't something you stumble into like a misplaced set of keys. It's a choice, a daily, deliberate choice. And you? You never chose me. Not fully. Not the way I deserved. And that right there is where the story changes. Because let's get one thing straight. I am not some consolation prize. I am not a placeholder for when your real plans fall through. I am not a warm body to text when boredom creeps in, nor am I some sentimental relic you keep around because you like the comfort of knowing I'm there. I am the main event, the headline act, the kind of person you either show up for fully or not at all, and I refuse to spend another second accepting breadcrumbs and calling it a meal. So, what happens now? Now, I reclaim my time, my energy, my worth. I pour my attention into people who don't make me feel like an obligation. I invest in those who don't need to be reminded that I matter. And let me tell you something, freedom tastes damn good. It's waking up and not checking my phone to see if you finally remembered I exist. It's laughing without hesitation because I'm no longer waiting for validation that should have been freely given. It's choosing myself over and over again in ways I never did when I was busy choosing you. And while I'm out here living, really living, you'll probably convince yourself that I'll be back, that I'll cave, that my silence is temporary, just another part of our cycle. But this isn't a cycle. This is a clean break, a door swinging shut with no intention of reopening. Because I finally learned something you never did. When you love someone, truly love them, you don't make them wonder if they matter. You don't make them question their place in your life. You don't treat them like an afterthought and expect them to stay. And if you're wondering if I miss you, if I ever think about reaching out, here's the truth. I don't miss you. I miss the version of you I created in my head, the version that cared as deeply as I did, that showed up without hesitation, that made me feel like I was enough. But that person never existed outside of my imagination. And now I have no use for illusions. I have no space for one-sided affection, for unreciprocated effort, for chasing after people who were never running toward me in the first place. I am done. Not in the I'll be back when I get lonely kind of way. Not in the I hope you finally change kind of way. I am done in the most liberating way possible, the kind where I no longer feel the need to look over my shoulder. So go ahead, keep doing what you do. Keep prioritizing convenience over connection. Keep treating people like they're disposable and wondering why they leave. Keep assuming I'll always be there, waiting, hoping, holding space for you. Because one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you're going to look around and realize that every person who truly cared, who genuinely wanted to be in your life, is gone. And by then I'll be so far gone, so deeply rooted in the life I deserve, that even if you finally saw my worth, it wouldn't matter, because I won't be waiting, I won't be watching, I won't be wondering, I'll be thriving. And that's the difference between us. Thriving doesn't mean I simply move on, it means I evolve. I expand. I become so unapologetically myself that the version of me who once accepted scraps from you would hardly recognize the person I've become. Because here's the thing, walking away isn't just about leaving you behind. It's about reclaiming the parts of myself I lost while trying to fit into your world. It's about rediscovering the fire I dimmed just to make you comfortable. And now, I burn brighter than ever. I wake up and choose joy. Not because life is always easy, but because I no longer tie my happiness to someone who was too inconsistent to deserve that power. I pour my energy into things that fill me up, dreams I once put on hold, passions I neglected while making space for you. I surround myself with people who don't make me question where I stand, because they make it clear every single day, I matter. And let's talk about that for a second. You see, people who truly value you don't make you guess. They don't operate on mixed signals and half-hearted responses. They don't leave you staring at your phone, wondering if today is the day they finally act like you mean something. No, real love, real care, real effort. It's unmistakable. It doesn't leave room for doubt. And for too long, I let doubt be my constant companion. I let uncertainty settle into my bones like a cold that wouldn't break. I let myself believe that if I just did more, cared harder, proved my worth over and over, you'd finally meet me halfway. But love, real love, isn't an uphill battle. It's not a never-ending test where one person is always proving and the other is just existing. Love is mutual. It's balanced. It's knowing that you're not the only one carrying the weight of the relationship. And with you, I carried it all. I carried the conversations, the effort, the planning, the checking in. I carried the unspoken expectations, the wishful thinking, the silent hopes that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. But let's be honest, it never was. Because the truth is, you liked the idea of me more than the responsibility of loving me. You liked knowing I was there, always available, always ready to pick up the slack whenever you couldn't be bothered to try. You liked the comfort of my loyalty without ever putting in the work to deserve it. And now, I like the idea of you being exactly where you belong. in my past, because I refused to romanticize the struggle of trying to be enough for someone who never saw my worth. I refused to wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, as if the amount of emotional labor I put in somehow proved I was worthy of love. I was always worthy. You were just too blind to see it. And that blindness, that's not my burden to bear anymore. So while you continue playing your little games, waiting until it's convenient to care, I'll be over here living a life so rich, so full, so unapologetically mine that the thought of ever settling for half-hearted affection makes me laugh. Because that's what this all comes down to, doesn't it? Settling. And I refuse to settle for anything less than someone who looks at me and knows, without hesitation, that I'm worth showing up for. So if you ever wonder why I stopped replying, why my presence disappeared like smoke in the wind, why the person who once gave you everything now gives you nothing, just know, it wasn't because I stopped caring, it was because I finally started caring about myself more. And that difference, that shift in perspective, that's not just some temporary rebellion, some fleeting act of defiance that will wear off when nostalgia kicks in. No, this is permanent. This is a rewiring of my very existence, because once you taste self-respect, once you finally understand what it feels like to no longer beg for the bare minimum, you can never go back. You can never return to the version of yourself that settled, that waited, that hoped against all evidence. That version of me, gone. Buried, replaced by someone who knows their worth and refuses to discount it for the convenience of another. And let me make one thing abundantly clear. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because I had to, because staying in a situation where you constantly feel unseen, unheard, and undervalued, that's not love, that's self-abandonment, and I refuse to abandon myself ever again. See, the old me would have kept trying. The old me would have made excuses for your inconsistency, would have convinced myself that maybe you were just busy, that maybe I was overthinking, that maybe if I just gave it a little more time, you'd finally show up the way I needed you to. But time is a funny thing, isn't it? It has a way of revealing the truth, and the truth was never that you were too busy, too distracted, too lost in your own world to love me properly. The truth was that I was never a priority for you. I was an option, a convenience, a placeholder, and you know what? I refused to be anyone's placeholder. So I left, quietly, without a grand announcement, without one last desperate plea for attention, without giving you another chance to explain away your indifference, because I realized something powerful. Closure isn't something you wait for, it's something you give yourself, and I gave myself closure the moment I chose me. Now, my life is no longer a waiting room where I sit around hoping someone will finally show up for me the way I've always shown up for them. Now, my love, my energy, my presence, they are privileges, not entitlements. They are things you earn through consistency, effort, and genuine care. And you never earned them. So don't look for me in the places I used to be. Don't scroll through old messages, searching for a version of me that no longer exists. Don't mistake my silence for bitterness or resentment, because I'm not angry, I'm not hurt, I'm not heartbroken, I'm free. Free from the weight of waiting, free from the exhausting effort of trying to decode mixed signals, free from the endless cycle of giving, hoping, and being met with nothing in return. And let me tell you, freedom looks damn good on me. Because now, instead of over-analyzing your words, I spend my time with people who make their intentions crystal clear. Instead of waiting for a reply that may never come, I invest in relationships that don't make me question where I stand. Instead of feeling drained by the one-sided effort, I am overflowing with love, joy, and a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth. And maybe, just maybe, one day you'll realize what you lost. Maybe you'll wake up and see the space I used to fill in your life and realize how empty it feels without me. Maybe you'll replay old conversations, old moments, old memories, and wonder why you never saw what was right in front of you. Maybe you'll finally understand that love isn't something you put on the back burner and expect to still be there when you're ready for it. But by then, it will be too late. Because I don't do rewinds, I don't do second chances for people who never truly valued the first one. So if you ever wonder why you lost me, just remember, it wasn't because I walked away, it was because you never gave me a reason to stay. And that That's the truth you'll have to live with, not some tragic, heart-wrenching betrayal, not some dramatic falling out where blame can be neatly placed on both sides. No, what happened here was simple. You let me slip away because you never held on in the first place. I was never asking for the impossible. I wasn't demanding grand gestures, poetic confessions, or love songs written in my honor. All I ever wanted was effort, real, tangible, undeniable effort, the kind that speaks louder than words, the kind that says, I see you, I appreciate you, and I will show up for you because you matter. But that was always too much for you, wasn't it? And that's where we differ. I don't hesitate when I care. I don't operate on convenience. I don't pick and choose when to make an effort based on what suits me in the moment. Because love, real love, isn't built on convenience. It's built on consistency. But let's be clear, I'm not writing this as some final plea for you to change. That ship has sailed, caught the wind, and disappeared over the horizon. This isn't about you anymore. This is about me. Me, finally understanding that love isn't supposed to be a question mark. Me, realizing that my worth isn't measured by someone else's inability to appreciate it. Me, walking away, not because I lost hope in love, but because I finally found it in myself. And damn, does it feel good? You see, for the first time in a long time, I'm not carrying the weight of uncertainty. I'm not staying up at night over-analyzing messages, wondering if I said too much or not enough. I'm not waiting for validation from someone who never even valued what I had to offer. Instead, I'm living. I'm investing in people who pour into me the way I pour into them. I'm chasing dreams that don't require me to dim my light. I'm surrounding myself with energy that feels like home, not a battlefield where I have to fight for a place. And let's talk about that for a second, about the difference between love that makes you feel at home and love that makes you feel like a visitor overstaying their welcome. Love, real love, doesn't make you feel like a burden. It doesn't make you hesitate before reaching out, wondering if your presence will be met with excitement or indifference. It doesn't leave you feeling like an afterthought in a life where you should have been a priority. No, real love is a door that's always open, a space where you are wanted, chosen, cherished, not just when it's easy, not just when it's convenient, but always. And that's the love I deserve. So if you were hoping that one day I'd come back, that I'd miss you enough to settle for the same half-hearted effort, let me stop you right there. Because missing you isn't the problem. I'll miss the good moments, sure. The laughter, the inside jokes, the way things felt in the beginning before I realized I was the only one holding things together. But missing you doesn't mean I want you back. It doesn't mean I'm willing to trade my peace for your inconsistency. It doesn't mean I'm going to forget the way I felt, unseen, unheard, unappreciated, just because nostalgia comes knocking. No, missing you is just proof that I gave something real, that I loved with my whole heart, that I tried. And now I give that love to someone who won't take it for granted, or better yet, I give it to myself. Because that's the lesson in all of this, isn't it? That self-love isn't just about bubble baths and affirmations. It's about choosing yourself in situations where you were once willing to be chosen last. It's about refusing to beg for attention, time, or effort from people who never hesitate to give those things to someone else. And if you ever wonder if I still think about you, if you ever question whether I've truly moved on, just know this: I don't hate you. I don't wish you pain. I don't sit around hoping you regret losing me. I simply don't care anymore. And that's the real ending to this story. Or at least it's the ending to your chapter in my story. Because make no mistake, my story continues. It thrives. It unfolds in ways you'll never witness, in places you'll never stand, with people who don't make me question whether I'm worth their time. And you're just a footnote now. A lesson I had to learn, a turning point that led me to something far greater, myself. See, the best thing about finally letting go is that I'm no longer weighed down by expectations you are never gonna meet. I'm not sitting here with my heart in my hands, hoping you'll realize what you lost. I'm not stuck in the endless loop of what ifs and maybes. I've made peace with the fact that you were never meant to be my forever. You were just the wake-up call. And trust me, I heard it loud and clear, because here's the thing, I refuse to live my life waiting for people to decide I'm worth the effort. I refuse to shrink myself, dim my light, or pretend I don't have needs just to make someone else comfortable. And now that I see things clearly, I can't unsee them. I see how one-sided it was, how I excused your inconsistency, how I let myself believe that the bare minimum was enough because I wanted so badly for you to be the person I thought you could be. But potential isn't love. Possibility isn't love. Love isn't something that needs convincing. It isn't a puzzle to be solved. It isn't a game where one person always has to lose so the other can win. Love is effort. Love is presence. Love is knowing, deep in your bones, that you never have to question where you stand with someone. And now I'm done questioning, because I've finally realized that the love I was waiting for was never going to come from you. It's going to come from me, from the people who show up without hesitation, from the moments I create for myself, filled with joy, laughter, and a sense of belonging that doesn't feel like an uphill battle. And one day, when you scroll through old messages, when you hear a song that reminds you of me, when you see me out in the world, glowing with a happiness you were never a part of, you might wonder. You might wonder what would have happened if you had just tried a little harder, if you had answered those texts a little faster, if you had met me halfway instead of always expecting me to take those extra steps, but by then, I'll be too far gone. Not in a bitter way, not in a way that leaves room for resentment or anger, just in a way that makes it clear, I've moved on to a life where I no longer have to wonder if I'm valued, because I am, and that's the real difference between us. You only realize what you had when it's gone, but me? I've always known my worth. I just finally decided to stop waiting for you to see it. So if you ever find yourself searching for me in the places I used to be, don't bother. I'm not there anymore. I'm out here, living the life I always deserved, and trust me, it's beautiful. And not just beautiful in the way a sunset is beautiful. Brief, fleeting, something to admire before it disappears. No, my life is the kind of beautiful that lasts. The kind that doesn't fade when night falls. The kind that isn't dependent on anyone else's presence, approval, or half-hearted affection. See, I used to believe that love meant holding on. That patience was proof of devotion, that if I just stayed long enough, if I just proved myself enough, if I just gave a little more, you'd finally see me the way I saw you. But what I didn't realize back then, what I see with absolute clarity now, is that love isn't supposed to feel like a waiting game. It isn't supposed to feel like a constant state of almost seen, almost wanted, almost enough. No love is certainty. Love is effort without hesitation. Love is choosing someone not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. And love is exactly what I'm giving to myself now. Because here's the thing, I was never asking for too much. I was just asking the wrong person. I was asking you to meet me at a level you had no intention of reaching. I was asking for consistency from someone who only knew how to show up when it suited them. I was asking for depth from someone who only ever wanted to wade in the shallows. And now I'm done asking. I've stopped waiting, stopped hoping, stopped leaving space in my heart for someone who never knew how to fill it. And in that space, I've built something far greater than what I ever thought I could have with you. I've built a life where I no longer second guess my worth, where I wake up and know, without a shadow of a doubt, that I deserve love that is certain, steady, and unwavering. And that's exactly what I give myself every single day, because the moment I stopped chasing you, the moment I stopped craving validation from someone who treated me like an afterthought, I found something so much better. I found freedom. I found peace. I found joy in the simple fact that I no longer have to prove my worth to someone who was too blind to see it. And let's be clear, I don't look back, not in longing, not in regret, not in some nostalgic daydream where I imagine things playing out differently, because I know now that things played out exactly as they were meant to. You were never my destination. You were just a detour, a lesson wrapped in disappointment, a necessary reminder of what I will never tolerate again. And me? I'm no longer the person who once settled for almost. I am whole. I am enough. I am thriving in a life where my happiness isn't dependent on someone else's lackluster attention. And that's something you'll never get to be a part of. So if you ever find yourself reminiscing, if you ever scroll through old photos or stumble across the places we used to go, don't reach out. Don't text me. Don't tell me you miss me. Don't pretend you've changed. Don't act like you suddenly understand what you lost. Because the truth is, you didn't just lose me. You lost a version of me that would have still cared. And that version, it's never coming back. And that version, it's never coming back. Not in the quiet hours of the night when loneliness creeps in. Not in the spaces where my laughter used to fill the air. Not in the echoes of conversations that once held weight but now mean nothing. Because the person who once stayed up late, wondering if today would be the day you finally showed up differently, gone. The one who gave endless chances, who clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, you'd wake up and see my worth, no longer here. You lost more than just my presence. You lost my warmth, my devotion, my patience, the kind of patience that looked past flaws, that forgave when it shouldn't have, that stayed far longer than it was ever supposed to. You lost the person who would have continued waiting, continued understanding, continued giving long after you stopped deserving it. And maybe you don't realize it now. Maybe, for you, this is just another moment that will pass, another chapter you'll skim through without truly reading. Maybe you think time will smooth over what was broken, that you can wander back whenever it's convenient, that I'll still be standing in the same place waiting for you to decide I'm worth it. But that's where you're wrong. Because while you were busy taking me for granted, I was learning how to let go. While you were offering excuses, I was finding reasons to walk away. While you were treating me like an option, I was realizing I was never meant to be one. And now I am nothing to you. Not because I vanished without a trace. Not because I wished for revenge or wanted to see you suffer. No, I became nothing to you because you made me feel like nothing for too long. And eventually, I learned to believe you. That's the heartbreaking part, isn't it? That you had someone who would have given you the kind of love people spend lifetimes searching for, and you treated it like a passing thought, like something you could set down and pick up later. But love isn't something you put on hold. Care isn't something you ration out when it's convenient. People don't stay when they are constantly made to feel like an afterthought. And one day, you'll understand that. Maybe it will hit you when you see me smiling somewhere, glowing in a way I never did when I was with you. Maybe it will sink in when you reach for your phone, tempted to send a message, only to realize I'm no longer someone you have access to. Maybe it'll happen in the stillness of a quiet night when you finally recognize that the absence you feel isn't just anyone, it's me. But by then, I will be nothing more than a memory, a lesson, a silent reminder of what you let slip away. And you will have to live with that. Not me, not anymore.